Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to dive into an essential topic for any developer working with distributed system. Then we are going to use some kind of the fault tolerance mechanism in Spring Boot applications. So for using this one, using this fault tolerance mechanism, so we are having the Resilience4j that retry module. So if we want to make our applications more robust and resilient to failures, so you are in the right place. Let's start it with it. So before going to the detail or more detail or technical part of it, just trying to understand that what is Resilience4j. So Resilience4j is a lightweight and easy to use library for building resilient and fault tolerant application in Java. It offers several modules like retry, circuit breaker, rate limiter, bulkhead, and time limiter. So here in this tutorial, we will focus only the retry module. That how this retry module we are going to use in Spring Boot application for different types of scenarios. So if we talked about the key features of Resilience4j, so that it's a lightweight and modular basis. It's a functional programming friendly, seamless integration with Spring Boot, excellent documentation and the community support. Now retry is a critical technique for handling transient failure in distributed system. It involves re-executing a failed operation for a specific number of times before giving up. So that also we can define that if some transactions are getting failed, then how many times you are going to call this one, or maybe we can also define some kind of the duration, means after which duration they are going to retry. So this can be a very useful for dealing with temporary issues like if there is any network glitches or server downtime or maybe rate limiting. So this we can handle easily. What is benefit of it? If we talked about the benefit of this one, so it will basically increase the robustness of our application, enhance the user experience by reducing the failure rates, also provides a fallback mechanism for transient error. Okay, so here basically we are going to cover some retry mechanism like Resilience4j retry module having different types of retry mechanism. So I will cover few of them. One is the simple retry, then retry on exception, conditional retry, backup strategies, fallback method. Okay, and also customization retry mechanism. So these are the mechanism we are going to demonstrate in a Spring Boot application. If we talked about the simple retry, so what it will do, it will basically define the maximum number of retry attempts for an operations and duration to wait between the retries. This is just a simple retry. If we talked about the retrying on exception, so this will configure the retry module to retry operation based on the specific checked exception. Okay, conditional retry, we can write the condition logic to determine whether retry should be triggered based on some results of the previous attempts. Backup strategies means implement different backup strategies to control the delay between the retry attempts. Resilience4j retry module supports randomized intervals and exponential interval backup strategies also. And the last one is the fallback method. So that is basically define the fallback method that gets execution when all the retry fails. Means suppose we are trying to call some method and all other fails, so in that time it will call the fallback method, which will give us it will actually allow you to provide the alternative logic, or maybe we can return some default values to handle the failures gradually. Okay, so next what we are going to do, next we are going to create one Spring Boot project, and over there we are going to add some dependencies like Spring Boot Starter Web, then this Resilience4j dependencies, AOPs. So those are dependencies basically we are going to add in the POM XML. Like before going to the code, actually let's we are going to set up the Spring Boot project. But if you are not aware of it, if you have not done this before, then you can create a new Spring Boot project using the Spring Initializer or in from your favorite editor. Okay, and also like if you are not aware of it, I will also share that link. I have already like some tutorials in my channel that how you're going to create that particular project in Spring Boot. You can also go through this one. I'll share that link in the description section. So next we are going to create that Spring Boot application and include in our favorite editor, and then we are going to like develop or implement all the retry mechanism into our Spring Boot application so that we can understand better. Okay, so without further ado, let's create the application and implement those strategies. So here as you can see that from here basically we can create any Spring Boot project. So this is the like start initializer, Spring initializer tool. Actually this is bootstrap kind of thing. So from here we can choose the dependencies, like what kind of project we are going to create, either Gradle or like Maven. We can choose the dependencies and then we can select the group, artifact name and all the things over here. Also I can choose the Java version. From the right side here we can choose the different types of dependencies, that what dependencies basically we need for developing this Spring Boot retry. Okay, so let me close this one. Okay, so next I have generated from over there and imported into this in my Eclipse editor. Okay, I have zoomed like this font little bit over here so that you guys can understand, like in a Spring default editor the font size is small. Okay, so now if we open the dependencies, so here you can see that we are going to use this actuator dependencies, starter web, then dev tools. Also the like important dependencies that we need to use over here, that is called the Resilience4j. Okay, so that dependencies basically we need to use over here, and with that also AOP is also used. Okay, let me add those dependencies over here. Okay, so AOP and the Spring Boot 3, these two dependencies are needed over here. Now like if we use the Spring, here you can see that we are using the Spring Boot version is 3.3.2, so that's why the Resilience version is the Spring Boot 3. Okay, but if we want to in a Spring like Spring Boot 2, then the instead of 3 it will be a Spring Boot 2 version. Okay, so once we have added this, so then we can like it's ready to add those, use those Resilience4j related module into a Spring Boot application. Okay, so next what basically we are going to achieve over here, we are going to like implement different types of retry retry modules or implementation over here. So as I have mentioned in my like previously, okay, previous section, that for defining this retry we are going to use this retry module over here. So first of all we are going to implement this simple retry mechanism over here. So for performing the retry operations using the minimal set of configurations options, so here we are just going to provide max attempts and wait duration. So in this case a retry will be performed for all exception that can occur while getting the any details if we are trying to get. So let's say I am going to implement over here for trying to fetch the order details, I am going to implement these things. Now in case if it is any failure occur while you are going to fetch the order details, then it will attempt 3 times, and for each try the duration, wait duration will be a 5 second or maybe 3 second or maybe 2 second, that we can define. Now the thing is that how we are going to defining this retry configuration. So this retry configuration basically we are going to defining either in properties file or in a like YML file. So here I am going to create the YML file over here, and from over here I'm going to like create the configurations over here. So let me first of all let me add this file, create this file over here. Okay, and we need to add this file over here. Now here basically we are going to add some properties. So first of all we need to, as we are going to use this actuator, so endpoints we need to exposure all the things over here. So that's why this endpoint is needed, we have added over here. Okay, next, so now over here we are going to defining the Resilience4j retry module or strategies over here. So how we are going to defining those properties? So for that we are going to defining this resilience4j dot retry over here. Under this tag we are going to defining the instances. Okay, so let me add this instances over here. Okay, now under the instances we are going to defining that what kind of retry we are going to do over here. Okay, so as I am going to like trying to implement a simple retry, so for that this simple retry will be something like this, and here as you can see that it will be a max attempt is a 3, and the wait duration for each attempts it will be a 5 second. That can also we can increase like 10 second or maybe 15 second, or also we can decrease like 1 second or 2 second. Okay, so in this way basically we can defining this we can implement this simple retry. Now we need to defining all the things in some controller so that we can try to demonstrate all the things. So for that we need to create some controller over here. So we can create some controller like let me create one order controller over here. So let me create one class. Okay, let me create one class over here. Okay, let's say order controller, and where we are going to create like controller. Okay, under the controller package. Okay, we can annotate this class with rest controller, and also we can provide some request mapping over here. Okay, okay, so these are added now. Okay, next we are going to create one we can use the log file over here. Okay, for logging the things like how this retry is worked or how these things is basically worked. So we are going to use this slf4j logger here. This is the default. Here we are going to defining this order controller. Okay, okay, so now we are going to defining one get mapping over here. Okay, now we are going to defining this get like we can like get order by ID, right? This kind of things we can create one method over here. Get order details by ID. Okay, and here what we are going to pass over here, we are going to pass like this ID. Okay, path variable as ID. Okay, okay, so next we are going to defining different types of the like what we can say different types of simple retry mechanism over here. Okay, so here what we can say like here we are going to defining like we can put some log over here like simple retry example. Okay, and then we are going to fetch some details from the like some service. So here we are going to create one service. Let me create another class order service. Okay, and then we can annotate this particular class with service annotation. Okay, we can also defining the logger over here. We are going to use this slf4j logger. Okay, now we are going to use this like simple retry things. So how we are going to achieve this one? Let me add one method. So here, so for achieving this, as you can see over here, we are going to use this retry annotation over here. Okay, so what we are going to over here? So the configuration provided for this resilience4j retry specifies a retry configuration for a specific instance that is called a simple retry. Okay, this is the instance name over here. In this case, as you can see, the max attempt will be 3, meaning that operations will be retried up to 3 times. If it is fails, the wait duration is set up to the 5 second, indicating that amount of time to wait between each retry attempts. Okay, and as I said regarding the exceptions, by default resilience4j retry will perform retries for all exceptions that are thrown by the method unless specific exceptions are specified in the configurations. Okay, so okay, now over here we are defining this one. Next basically we are going to like defining this fetch order details method. Okay, so here we are going to create one method, fetch order details. Okay, we are going to add this return order statement over here. Okay, this order basically it's not needed. We can create our own custom order entity. Okay, so let me create one entity over here. Under this entity package, new class, or we can say new package dot entity. Okay, and here we are going to create this particular order. So it's having an ID, title, then price, then rating. Okay, and we have added this getter and setter. So this order actually are going to add over here, this entity. Okay, so now we have to write some logic over here while it's basically fetching this order details. So either we are going to get this order details from some other like nested external API. Basically that is the main real scenarios, but that we can achieve by creating another microservice over here, like let's say order, the order service, or maybe order details, and then we are going to call some APIs from over there. But instead of that, we can also achieve the same thing by creating some kind of another API over here, and which will basically like mock kind of thing we can create, and we can also add this controller over here. Okay, and internally we are going to like call those services by like creating, like we are going to create one API client, and using this API client we are going to call that particular service. Okay, so let me add some like mock controller over here. Okay, which will basically return the details. Okay, so let me add the class. Here we can create these things. Okay, okay, so here we have created this mock order controller. So what, instead of like going to the like creating another microservices, okay, because like the retry mechanism basically happened whenever we're going to call any external APIs, right? So for that we can add another microservices which will run in some other port, and then from over here we're going to call that particular some APIs. But instead of that, we are also going to, means here what I have done, we can create one another API over here, and we are going to call this particular API by API client. So for that we are going to create API client which will basically call that API. Okay, so let me add this client. Let me create one package retry dot client. Okay, and here I am going to create this class API client. Okay, can create this exception, order not found exception. Okay, order not found exception, and here we can add this one. Okay, so what we have done over here, we have just added this REST template, and using this REST template we are going to call this order details from over here. Like this particular method is basically getting called from over here, right? This fetch order details, we are basically going to call that service like this one API client one from over here. So let me add this one also over there. Like while we are going to, so we need to add this API client, we need to auto this order API client over here, right, in this service layer. Let me add this one, this API client. Okay, and using this API client basically we are going to call the details from over under this one. Okay, like get order details over here. Okay, so now we can like either add this one with some kind of exception. We can like exception, or if something is occurred over here. So like we can add the exception, or maybe there are a lot of exception actually that can happen. So let's say like it's a kind of HTTP server error exception, or maybe HTTP client error exception, or maybe it's a resource access exception or exception. So in all the scenarios is basically occur. So let me add all the scenarios or all the exception over here, and also we have log something over here. Okay, so these are all the exception. So while we are going to trying to call fetch the order details, so this basically will talk with this some other APIs. Okay, that can be a external APIs, because you can see like like we have to provide the URL over here. So based on the URL we are going to call the external services, but here as you can see I have not added any microservices over here. So due to this I have created one mock order controller, and it will internally call this service. But this is also a kind of REST call, which we can be call any other API, external APIs also. And here as you can see we are passing this order ID, and based on that, if like here you can see if the ID is, if we are passing 1, then we are get the order detail this. If it is 2, then we are getting order detail this one. Okay, like it's a, like maybe it's a like toys. Okay, okay, then we are going to get this toys. And if we are passing this 3, then we are going to order, means it will throw, it will, we are going to get this status is not found and order not found over here. Okay, so this is that we're going to do now. If we come over here, like we can also like add this what I can say, like this configurations for REST template. So let me create one configuration package over here. Okay, like config. Okay, and here let me add this REST template as configurations. We are going to create these wheels as we are going to get some exception while it will load this one beans, then on the same time it will not able to get this REST template. So that's why we need to add this one in the config file using in this REST template builder. Okay, okay, this is done. Next basically what we need to do, we need to like do some kind of from the controller. Basically we are going to call that service, like how we are going to call this one over here. We are going to call this one, right, that if it is a kind of simple retry, then it will call this. Let me add this one. Okay, like we can use this order service over here, and based on this order service we are going to call the method over here, order service dot get order details by ID, and ID we are getting as a from the path variable, right, and we can pass this in the response of here. Okay, response entity, what it is saying, change the method return type to yes. Okay, understood. It was, let me also remove this one. Now import it. Now we can add it from the entity. Okay, now it is added over here. Okay, so now this application is basically ready. Now if we start, then we can easily achieve, means we can easily replicate that for simple retry. If it in case of any fails or any exception, then it will actually try 3 times and wait duration will be a 5 second. Okay, so let me start this application. Okay, let me start this application over here. It will not take much time. Then from the postman we can like try to call the services. It throws exception. Let us see like what it is saying. Okay, do not use the tab over here. Okay, okay, in the YML file basically here it's a space because it's not a tab basically. Okay, Okay, let's restart it again. Again it's saying line number 9. Okay, here simple retry. Line number 10. 11. Okay, now if we start the application, yeah, it will start soon. Then from the postman basically we will trigger this one. Okay, as you can see it's got starting service Tomcat and started in 880 port, right? Now from the postman basically we can see that how it is as it is started in a like 880 port, as you can see over here. Okay, let me clean the console first. Okay, now if we try from over here like this, send localhost 880/order/1. Okay, let's see, like we are not getting the response. So from over here, so if we re-trigger this service again, then we are expecting, yes, we are getting the like order details over here. Now like if we open the console, like we can see that it's just simple like retry example. So that log is basically printing. Now suppose it's not retried exception, retried anything. So how like it will retry? So it will basically retry when, so that retry will happen only in case of any exception. So the exception can be any, like that can be like if we provide some kind of invalid order ID which is not available over here, like either 1, 2 or 3. So if we like search with 10, so let me search with 10, so which is not available over here. So in that particular scenario we are expecting some exception over here. Okay, so now if we monitor over here, it's actually returning the resource, not actually this exception. Okay, this that's why unexpected error encounter while it's fetching the order details. If we go over in the service layer, so you can see that we are getting this exception, unexpected error. Okay, so that means it's a not over this is a kind of order not found exception basically happened. If you see this order with 10 is not found, but here you can see you just check this log. So in the configuration if you see that its max retry is the 3, so that's why is basically retry 3 times. So that's why 3 logs printed over here, and wait duration is the 5 second. Now if we also monitor the time over here, 12 second, 17, and then it's a another one, like, so it's a around, it's a 5 second waiting period over here. Okay, 7, 12, and then 17, these three actually time actually means in this time actually they have retried this actually 3 times retried. Okay, so it can happen for any exception. Now suppose if we like try to change the port of this one, okay, then it will basically occur some like resource not found exception. Okay, means it will actually able to call that particular service, but it will not able to call because in 8081 there is a no service is running with this API, only that running in a 880 port. Now suppose if I retry with the valid ID, then again it will retry, because here you can see, observe that that resource access exception is encountered while we are going to call that service. So that's why is again retried for 3 times with duration for 5 second. Then it will actually, you can see that time over here, uh, this 36, 52, 57, and then 2. So actually the duration is like 5, right? 5 second, 52, then 57, then 2. So this is the time that for each time they actually like try it, these 3, and if you open this 3 they are actually log print the log over here. Okay, So in this way basically we can easily like replicate that how we are going to try this simple retry. Okay, in simple retry, as I mentioned, it will only have this max attempts and the wait duration. Next, we are going to implement that retrying a specific exception and logging ignoring the others. The retry behavior in Resilience4j can be customized by retrying a specific exception and excluding others. Means if we want to say that in that case, like if this particular exception is basically occur, then you can retry, else we are going to ignoring the retry mechanism. That also we can achieve using this configurations over here. So for that we need to again do some kind of configurations over here. So how we are going to configure those things? Retry on exception. Okay, so that configure, that we need to configure. So that means we can say that in case of the order not found, if it is a order not found exception, then please ignore the retry mechanism. But if the service is down or something, then please ignore, please retry those things. Okay, so let me, okay, so here you can see that we are going to, this is the tag that retry on exception. Okay, this is the thing that actually we are going to do over here. Okay, this is the configuration. Here also we can do the max attempt is 4. Okay, wait duration is like let's say 3 seconds, and retry on exception, retry on exception is if it is a resource access exception, then please retry, else you can ignore the exception like this. If it is a order like this order not found exception, then please ignore. Okay, so in case of this resource access exception, it will retry. If it is a order not found exception, then it will ignore the retry mechanism, right? Okay, so fail this. Okay, maybe it's a kind of we need to do only the space over here. Same for this one also. Okay, same for this also. Let's retry to load this one so that we can understand that is there any issues in the configurations file or not. Let me restart, better to, we can create another method in the controller file actually for replicating this okay, again ignore exception. This is saying that failed to convert. Okay, why? Okay, the path was different. I have actually copied this order not found, created this under this retry package. So here somehow like it exceptions was there, due to this it was causing issues. Okay, now it will start. Okay, meantime we can let create the another API which will basically uh, doing this retry on this one. Okay, this retry on the exception things. As you can see, the now it is started basically. Okay, so now we are going to create another service under this service layer, which will basically do this one like retry on exception. Okay, let me create this method over here. Okay, so as you can see, we have defining the name is the retry on exception. This is mapped with this one, this retry on exception. Okay, and here you can see this method will basically called, it will take the order ID and again it will do the like fetch or order details. So what it will do, it will basically do that like it will retry for this exception, but if it is a order not found exception, then it will not retry. Okay, now we are going to call this particular retry on exception from the controller. So here we are going to create some API, another API basically. Let me, here we are going to rename this method get order details retry on exception here also. Okay, and here we are going to like change the path because same path we can't keep it over here, right? Simply retry example, it will be a like we can change the retry on like change the name over here, retry on configured exception example. Okay, that we can logged, and here we can change like maybe let's say it's a kind of what you can say retry on exception. Okay, that will be, we can easily understand. Okay, now if we save this one, then we can try this one. Okay, try this from the postman. Let me open the postman meantime and create a new get localhost colon 8080 slash order slash retry on exception, and then we are going to pass the path, this one. Okay, then slash, if we let's say we are passing the 1, so in that same time we are going to get the actual response. But if we pass the 10, so that means we are going to get the like order not found exception, but in the same time it will basically not call the not actually retry, right? As for the configuration, we can also check from the console that we are getting the order not found exception, but we are not retrying over here. Let me clear the console because here only single logged for this one, right? If we go over here and if you see that it's only we are getting that unexpected error that is coming over here, and it is printed only single time, means no retry over here, correct? Now let's say over here if we change the path, in the same time we will get the resource not found exception. That means in case if we go to the configuration over here, if it is a resource access exception, then it will retry the exception, right? So now if we try again with the same ID, then it will basically not able to find the path, then it will get return the resource access exception as you can see, and again it will start the retry, right? And it will retry the 4 times with 3-second duration. So as you can see in the control, means in the console, it retried 4 times, right? This is the first pin, second try, third try, and the fourth try, final try, with 3-second delay. So you can see 55, 58, 1, 4. So these 4 are the retry over here happened. So using this we can also say that we can easily like say that how we are going to retrying a specific exception and ignoring the other exception over here. So that also we can simply achieve using this over here, right? So it's a like whether like it's a good practice to specify both retry the exception and the ignore exception in the some same retry instance, depends on the specific use case and requirements. It can be beneficial to selectively retry certain exception while ignoring others to fine tune the retry behavior based on the different scenarios. Next, we are going to defining some another retry mechanism like conditional retry. So retry on the result predicate, that what basically we are result we are getting. So based on the result basically we are going to defining those things. The configurations will be little bit different. For that we just need to defining the predicate over there. So let us create that predicate and defining over here. So now basically, as I said, that now we are going to defining this conditional retry. So we can define our own condition using predicate on the basis of which the retry should be performed. So a result predicate in resilience retry, we can define our custom rules to decide if a retry should be attempted based on the result of the operations. So if we consider the configurations for this one, so the configurations will be here basically we are going to defining some other tag, that is here actually the retry on exceptions, similar not similar kind of, here we are going to defining this one, that retry based on condition predicate. As you can see over here that we are going to defining this one. Okay, next under this basically here we are defining that max retries, max attempt, and wait durations, all the properties over here. Like as you can see over here, the max attempt will be 2. We can define that, can be any, you can define any over here, and then we can defining the wait durations will be 5 second, or maybe a 3 second, or maybe a 2 second. Okay, and then after that we are going to defining that particular predicate, so result predicate. So here how we are going to defining this result predicate, so we are going to defining this result predicate under this, and now here we are going to what will be the class name that we are going to defining over here. So for defining the predicate basically we are going to defining the path over here, that what will be the path, like with the package declaration like com, then jts retry dot predicate dot condition predicate. In this way basically we are going to defining this condition predicate. Now if it is a retry based on the exception predicate, so this will be the similar kind of thing, only that few syntax will be different, that also I can means I can define over here. Let me just do the configuration for this. Let me put some spaces over here, then max attempt 2, okay, next wait duration, we can delete the tab and just only we need to put some spaces over here, and then we can define the result predicate. Okay, so here this one is the conditional predicate, and this retry based on the exception predicate. Okay, so that instead of this we can retry based on exception predicate. Okay, and this will be the, instead of the result predicate, this will be the result exception predicate. Okay, and the class name we can we also need to create the different class. Instead of the condition we can say it's a exception predicate. So these two predicate now we are going to define under this predicate package over here, and then we are going to create some services, so that it will based on that it will call those services. Okay, so now let me create one package over here. Let's see, the name will be a predicate. Okay, and here we are going to create two predicate. One will be the conditional predicate and another one will be the exception predicate. Okay, so if we talked about this exception predicate, basically as you can see it's implement this predicate interface, and it's having a one method, the test, and we need to override this method, and we can write our own custom logic over here. Like as it is only taking the throwable instance, so if this instance of this order not found exception, then it will true, else it will be false. So that means if in case of the exception predicate, if it is a exception only the order not found exception, then only it will retry, else it will ignore the retry. Okay, similar in case of the conditional predicate, we can say if the order id will be 60 or any, like maybe it's a if it is a 10 or 20, then only if it is matched with this id, if we are passing with the 20 ID, and if it is matched with this ID, then it will basically retry, else it will ignore the retry mechanism. Okay, so now the retry will happen based on this predicate or this custom logic that we have defined over there, right? Okay, what it is saying, line number 19. Okay, tab. Okay, line number 19. Okay, let's see if it is successfully ran or not, or is still there is some issues. Let's see, looks like okay. Let me rerun it again. Okay, again line number 21. Okay, 21 means this one. Okay, next. Okay, the issues for the tab actually. Now it's 22. Okay, again we can, let's see again, because it's not means we need to do instead of YML we need to do like properly format it, else it will give this kind of exception, means it's not able to parse those string. This then it will causing these issues basically. Okay, so now let's see if it is started successful, then it's fine, else again we need to like do some kind of, we need to remove the tab, and we just, it will take only the space over there in the YML file. Now looks like it's started. Okay, now we can we need to write the logic over there. Like now basically we can in the service layer we are going to create those method that retry based on the like exception predicate and on the like conditional predicate, right? So now we are going to, in the service layer here, uh, we can defining this method like retry based on the condition predicate, right? So here you can see this, we defining this one retry based on this predicate, and it will fetch this one. So if it is only the order not found exception, then only it will retry, right? Similar kind of we can do this for like this exception one. Okay, okay, it's needed another. Okay, what it is saying, we need to add the, okay, add the return statement. So here basically we can return from in under this return, in case of its exception, then we can return new order, and here we are going to pass like 20 for example. Okay, we are going to, it's a string basically, 20, then this, this, this. Okay, or it's a kind of 0 0.0, and here we can say that it's a NA, it's also a NA. Okay, now from the like these two service layer we have added, now from the controller basically we are going to add those two APIs over here, right? This is basically let me retry this conditional predicate. Okay, and retry on conditional predicate. Okay, retry on conditional predicate example, we can just need to like change this one. Okay, and another one would be like for the exception one, right? Retry on the exception, retry on the exception predicate. Okay, here we are going to pass this one, retry on exception predicate. Okay, and we are going to retry on exception predicate. Okay, okay, okay. One more thing, I think here we need to change the method. Like instead of this, we are going to get this on conditional predicate, and here it will be a on exception, right? On exception. Okay. So now we are going to call those method. Let me open the postman. From over here, we are going to here like we can check like first of all retry on exception. Like if it's a kind of order not found exception, then only it will try. So let me add this one and let's see from the log. From the log received resource exception. Okay, so we just need to change this one like it's a 8080. Okay, so once it will restart, then like we can again check because previously we are getting this resource access because it's not able to call the particular services. Okay, so now it is looks like started. Now if we try, so then we can see that exception predicate is getting called, but here it's order this is ID not found, but it's not retried. Okay, so as you can see over here, like it's basically called two times because here this retry based on the conditional predicates. So that is basically like we have to define this as a two times. Max time is the two times and wait duration is for the 2 second, right? So here you can see this log from the log that exception predicate is getting called. It's a two times, right? So here this exception predicate is maximum two. So you can see this one and the two, and it's for the order not found. Instead of the order not found, previously as I mentioned that resource access not found, so on the same time it's not basically called, but as it is the order not found exception, that's why it's basically getting called, right? So in this way this exception basically called. And the conditional predicate, the what is the condition for this conditional predicate? Basically if this ID is basically equal with this 20, then only it will retrigger, means retry this condition. So if we now check this conditional predicate, so for that we need to call this API. So how we are going to call this one? We just need to call this order predicate and it will be try with this 20 because we can, if the ID will be 20, then only it will retry. If you see this one, the conditional predicate is getting called and two times, right, with the interval of 2 seconds. Here you can see. Now instead of, let me clear the console, instead of the 20, if I try with 10 or maybe 1, then let me rerun this application. So here you can see it's basically called only one time and it is not match with the 20, so that's why it's not actually retry this call. Okay, so in this way basically this conditional we can create our own custom conditional predicate based on the exception or maybe based on the logic, and we can implement, we can just map those classes over here, and then accordingly we can like defining all those things, we can create the control over there, means with the custom creating the condition things over here. So in this way basically we can create those things. Next we will show you that how we are going to retry with an exponential backup strategy. So now like we will retry with an exponential backup strategy. So this is basically a kind of exponential backup strategy that progressively increase the wait duration between the retry attempts. Like in all these retry kind of things, it's basically there's a fixed wait duration, like it's a maybe 5 second or maybe 3 second, but those are fixed. But here it will basically increase the wait duration between all the retry attempts. Like first attempt it will be a maybe 2 second, in the next retry it will be a 4, next it will be a 8 seconds. So in this way basically it will increase the like wait duration between for each retry attempt. So this is the like exponential backup strategy. Okay, so that basically we are going to defining the configurations over here. Okay, so how we are going to defining this configuration, so that is also similar kind of thing that uh, we are going to that this is the key that I'm going to defining over here. Okay, like this. Okay, and we are going to defining this one. Then after that here basically uh, we are going to defining this 4 properties over here. Previously only these 2 for simple retry, but now here it will be a 4 properties. Okay, one is the max attempt, that how many times we are going to attempt. Okay, and next will be a max the wait duration, that how many times basically it will be wait. Then for enabling the exponential backoff, there is a properties that enable exponential backoff, so that we need to define. And the last one is the multiplier, so it will multiply for each time. Actually, like previously it will be 2, then next time it will be wait for the 4 second, and the next it will be wait for the 6 second or 8, similar kind of things. Okay, so let me save those configurations. It's saying that 27, so here, okay, let me rerun it again. Let's see if all the things are fine or not. Okay, let me rerun it, and then we'll like add this kind of add this one in like a service layer, and then we will add these things. Okay, let me add, meantime let me add this configuration. Okay, still it's saying where 27. Okay, why it is saying, it's saying it's a tab. Okay, okay, now let me retry again. It's saying 27 and 34. Okay, okay, over here as you can see there are some tab is defined already over here, so due to this is causing issue. Let me rerun it again. Okay, so it will start now, and now over here actually are going to add this one, add this service. So as you can see there's retry using exponential backoff, and here we are going to pass this order ID. Okay, so here you can see that this is the properties, and it will actually basically try for all the things, all the. Now if we try over here like uh, retry on. Okay, also we need to create some controller over here. uh, Let me add this one. Okay, and from over here we are just going to this method we are going to call from the controller, this one and this one. Okay, and we are also going to like defining the name like this backoff retry with backoff, this example. Okay, and also we need to defining the name like exponential backoff. Let me backoff. Okay, so now let me save this one, and from the controller basically we're going to try this one. Okay, from over here retry this. So first of all we are trying to with 1, so we are getting the success response, so in the same time it will not retry. But now suppose if we try with the 10, which is not available this particular order, so let's see that it's trying or not. Okay, so you can see that it's trying. Okay, and we have defining the time is 3 attempt and with 2. So for the first one it will try for the like if you see it's three retried happen, and first one time is the 49, then 51, then 55. Okay, so these two, and then after that it will be 4. All right, so that means it's a multiplier of this one. So in this way basically this enable exponential backup is working. Okay, so this is the thing that enable is true, this enable the exponential like backup strategy. It will increase the wait duration exponentially with each retry attempt. Okay, and this multiplier will basically multiply used to calculate the increased wait duration for each subsequent retry attempt. And next we will try for defining the uh, custom retry component, that these are the like inbuilt retry instances, but how we are going to create like custom one, that I am going to show you. So now like we will check that how we are programmatically create retry instances. Like till now what we have shown over here, that are these are the like existing inbuilt like instances of different types of retry mechanism, like simple retry, retry on exception, then based on some customized conditional predicate also you can use over here. So now we can see that how we are going to create that programmatically retry instances in Resilience4j by using a custom configuration. So this allow us to define a specific retry settings such as maximum attempts, wait durations, and like also in which for which retry exception it will retry, which exception is it will basically ignore. So those are also we can configure in the programmatically created custom instances. Okay, so let create that one. Okay, so for that basically first of all we need to create one configuration file. So let me create that file over here under this configuration package. Okay, so this is the basically configuration class which will basically responsible to create the customized programmatically retry instances. As you can see over here, so we have created this retry configuration, retry configuration, and it will annotate with the configuration class. So here we have annotated this retry registry. Okay, this is coming from this over here, this resilience retry. And now here we have created one retry config class which will having this kind of parameters like max attempts with durations, retry on this exception. Okay, if this kind of exception will occur, then it will retry, it will ignore the exception if it is a order not found exception. Means the similar kind of thing, but we are doing this in a programmatically creating the instances, and here the instance name is the custom retry config. Okay, so now this configuration basically we are going to use here here in this order services. So how we are going to create this one, use this one custom retry config. Let me add this configuration for this one also. So as you can see, it's similar to the retry annotation, and here we are giving the this name custom retry config similar to this. Okay, and it's also going to fetch the order details. Now from the controller basically we are going to call this one. Okay, so let me copy this one and let me rename this retry with this. Okay, and from this service basically we can't use this one, we can just define means different path over here, retry with custom config. Okay, so this all for this one. Now we are going to call this from the postman. Okay, so just we need to use this path for calling this one. So now if we see the app client for it's going to the 880. So let me use this one. Let first try with some valid ID which will available. So we are getting the response over here, right? And for this we are not, its retry will not happen, right? Yes. Okay, now if we like try with some which order is not available, so in this case it's returned directly that order not found, but it will not retry. So here you can see that Okay, I did some mistake over here, like it should call this new method. That's why it's retried over here, because internally it's called this order details retry using exponential backoff. But instead of that, we need to call this custom. We need to call this method from over here. Okay. Okay, now if we try, then we can see the actual output. Let it restart again. Okay. So now if I send, so it will return basically order not found exception, but here it will not doing the any kind of the retry. But now suppose if we change the path, change the URL, basically instead of 880, if it is a 8081, then it will try to call the 8081 service, but 8081 in port, no service is basically getting run. So due to this, it will throw the resource not this exceptions, resource access exception. Okay, and then it will basically retry. Okay, so now if we try, then you can see that internally it will try this one. Okay, receive resource access exception, and then it will basically retry with this one. Okay, so in this way basically we can we can do the retry configuration kind of things. So this is all about this retry module of this Resilience4j. We have successfully integrated this Resilience4j retry module into our Spring Boot application. So by implementing this retry mechanism into our application is now more resilient and capable of handling transient failure gracefully. If you found this tutorial very helpful, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel for more tutorials on building robust Spring Boot application. Thanks for watching my videos. See you in my next videos. Bye bye.